Okay, so I'm starting a new project today, and hopefully this is gonna be like a series. So I'm just gonna show you how to uh, start a modding project on Dota. So you're gonna in Steam, you're gonna go to your play, launch Dota 2 tools. If you don't have this popping up, that means you haven't installed your Workshop Tools DLC. Just click on Find More DLC and Store, and it'll show you how to do that. Just get that installed, and then you can do this. When this pops up, you're going to hit create empty add-on, or if you want to make one from a template, such as there's bare bones template, there's a Balmy's Dota BUT template. For this one, I think we're just going to actually we can we'll create an empty and we'll drag some file folders in there later. We're gonna call this Dota 2 BUT SMITE. Okay, so we're on this launch custom game tools. So doing that gave us a folder or a directory with all our files and folders and subfolders that we'll need. What we're gonna do quick is once this pops up, oh great, not responding. Well, we're gonna open up Hammer and then just build our map, and so that way we can use it for testing. For now, we'll just build the grasslands generic map. Anyway, while that's loading, let's go over here. Open up folder. We want to go to Steam, so go to PC, C drive, program files, Steam, Steam apps, common. Go to your Dota 2 beta, and then game, Dota 2 add-ons, and your folder should be here. We're going to be mostly working in scripts. So there's the V scripts, there's the NPC, these guys. Okay, looks like we did finally pop our thing up. So these are just all like, there's a bunch of these old maps from Dota. Some of these don't actually load. We're gonna use this one, just the plain grassland. So double click that, it'll open it up in Hammer. So while this is loading, generally the plan for this mod is just I'm gonna make some of the Smite characters in Dota and maybe change some of the game rules to make it more like Smite. A lot of my friends played Smite, a lot of my friends played Dota, so trying to basically combine them. Now we're going to build this. Go to build map. The first time you have to do all these options. Build world entities, you have to do all of it. So this will be the first build, it'll take a while. So while we're waiting for that, let's start getting into the scripting. First thing we're going to want to do is actually take some folders here. I'm looking for to see if I have Balmy's example. I do not, but I'll show you how to grab it. We're gonna look up it should come up on GitHub, and if not, we'll just go to the video and check the link. I like his template a lot. I mean, not his, but his friend who wrote it.
What's up, everybody?
Right here. Well, we're gonna have to actually click. I'm sorry,
What's
I'm
up,
using Bing.
everybody?
I know
How's it?
everyone will judge me for that. Let's open this. Do I not have this? Add-on template. This isn't it, is it? No, yeah, it's just the generic. Oh, I might have it in downloads, I guess. I must have it somewhere. That's probably a while ago. Yeah, here we go. This one? Oh, there's nothing there. Hmm. Alright, well, our map loaded. The meanwhile, did it? No, not yet. We're still building. So this is the GitHub for it. We're gonna grab just these for now. The scripts, NPC. The ones that it gives you from the beginning here, or I don't want to be in downloads. I want to be back here. Yep. So the ones it gives you on the start are these ones. But as you can see, if I open this, for instance, it's just like generally a generic ability. Now if you look at this version, it's got a lot more stuff that's helpful for beginners. Gives you like a example ability, so you see what all this would look like. These are data driven. I don't write data driven, I write Lua based abilities. They are different. NPC heroes. And if you look in comparison, this is the NPC heroes here. So let's open this in Sublime. Delete all this. And copy in this. So basically, our first hero that we're going to do is Ra. He's my favorite hero in Smite. I'm notoriously bad with him though, so maybe I'm better with him at Dota. So basically what we would put here is like our own custom name for the hero in like the code. So I would just do NPC underscore Dota underscore, and then we're gonna do Ra. Now for now we just need like a hero to override. In Dota you can't actually add heroes, you can only like override the ones that exist. So for now I'm going to just pick someone, some intelligence hero that looks similar. Maybe Tinker for now. Um, and we're going to just cancel out this code. That's just showing that if you leave the what's in the parentheses blank, you are not changing the hero. And then this is assigning abilities and talents to the hero. So in Smite, there's no such thing as talents, just all the abilities get 5 points. We'll see if I end up we could do a system where we don't do talents and that just we can adjust the actual table for how you level up abilities. Like for instance, ultimates in Smite, you level up at 5, not 6. But for now, we're gonna just copy in our abilities from the Smite wiki, and then we'll worry about making them. So each character in Smite, for the most part, has 4 abilities and a passive. Ultimates in Dota are ability 6, so that would be like your 4 or your R if you're using QWER. So your passive would be ability 4. So if we go over here, Celestial Beam, that's just the one that goes straight down. So the way that I would notate this for our code would be R, and then something that you're going to be typing this a lot, so don't make it too complicated. And like this next one, we'll just call R light. And the next one, it's like blessing, right? Yeah. Now this is his passive. Actually, don't even know the name of it. That's how little I play. Speed of light. We'll just call it speed. And this is his ult. Searing pain. We'll just call pain. And for now, these talents, there's also a way to add generic talents, which could also be a route we go. For now, I'm just going to leave this. Actually, just completely remove this, so we'll have the generic Tinker talents for now. So this will be the first step to making a hero. Next thing we have to do is go in and actually make the abilities. In comparison, if you go to abilities again, this is like the data-driven way. What we'll have to end up doing is going into our original scripts, vscripts, and then adding a new file. And the way we're going to do this, go in here, control, and new. This is going to be the actual Lua file for our abilities. So save this in vscripts, which is where our Lua files always go. And we'll just say raw.lua. And I'm sorry, this is not how you comment in Lua. It's like this. So these are his abilities, which we'll write in Lua, and there still needs to be, even though we're not writing them in data driven, we still need to add this component to the abilities, which includes basically the name, things like the behavior, damage type. Some of these generic things still need to be notated in a key value form. So how we're going to do that is go to this. We're just going to open this in Sublime. We're going to actually just modify this for our first ability. So this is raw. We'll start with the first one, Celestial Beam, if I'm correct. Again, I don't play a lot of Smite. Celestial Beam. This would be the name that we shortened it for in the other file, raw_beam. It's how it will reference the ability from the hero to the key value to the actual Lua will be this r_beam. And for this one, it's just a point target. And we can say immediate for now. We'll eventually probably want an animation for it. We can pick from a whole bunch. But for now, let's just make it no animation, which means the cast point is also 0. The damage type will be magic. And also, a quick note, as I type this and I realized that my key value hints aren't coming up, a way that really helps is if you go to View, Syntax, Dota KV. And the way you get that is from downloading the Dota key value like database. It's on GitHub. I can put a link in the description. But also if you just, I'll put a link, but just quickly so you know if I forget. Dota key value for Sublime. Just look that up. It'll take you to this. And it'll show you how to install on Sublime. For the cooldown, we're just going to copy the values directly from the guide or the wiki on Smite. It's 105, about 10 seconds. Sorry, I was going to say that's not 105-second cooldown. Mana cost, we can also look here, 70 to 110 over 5 instances. And another thing to add is there's also a key value called max level. And we're going to set that as 5. Is it ability? I'm sorry. Let me just check quick. No, I'm pretty sure it's just max level. Which means we can simply just make this 0.0 for all levels. These ability specials are going to be ability specific values that you need to be stored, and that can be upgraded per level. So like things could be like bonus speed, bonus health, projectile speed. Values like those will be stored in here, the key value, not in the actual Lua. And that way it can reference per upgrade, stuff like that. It's also easy to show it in the tooltip for the ability if you put it in here. Cost. Let's add another one here. Damage. Oh, I don't want you to fix my code that much. Now we're going to type ability damage. And in this case, it's 95, 155, 215, 275, 335. 95, 115, 2 something, 215, 275, 335? Yes, okay, cool. And just a quick reference, most of the abilities in Smite are also based off magical power, just like spell amplification. So these numbers might need to be tweaked to give it a little bit of balance, which we can always do. And if we go in here, certain things for this ability that we would want to add in would be like projectile speed, because it is just a projectile, not a unit. And the actual beam itself goes quite slow, so we might see this being like 700, which is still can outrun somebody, but it's not like an instant kind of projectile. Also, we'll have projectile width, which basically defines how wide of a hitbox it'll have to calculate in who's hit and who's not. We'll start with 100 for that value, but we'll test it out. Duration, we don't need anything like that. I think that's really all we need for this ability. So we can mark that out. Okay. And also this should be, this might need to be ability unit damage. No, it's ability damage. Okay. Now over to our Lua folder. This is where the most of the scripting actually occurs. We're going to set up our general ability, just like we did before. It's beam. And we're going to define it as a class. Now, there's no modifiers associated with this ability. It's just a damaging thing. So we won't have to do, normally you would do a link Lua modifier at the beginning here. But we'll skip down. Instead, we'll have these functions, which we'll first start with function. And it'll be on, like things like on created, on spell start, stuff like that. For this for this ability, we want when the spell is cast for it to create a projectile that shoots in a straight line slowly and then damages any unit it hits. So we're going to start with the on spell start, and now in here basically what we want to do is create a linear projectile, and then we want to track the linear projectile as it hits other units. So first for this create a linear projectile, we're actually going to reference other abilities for this. This is the easiest way in my opinion. So the best way to do this, go to GitHub. I don't know everything, but I can figure out mostly everything. Let's not show my email. That's fine actually. We're just going, oh fine. So we're gonna search in here, Dota 2, and we're gonna think of just what's a linear projectile that is in the game. I think venomous scale is a good one. Go to code. Oh, I need to sign in. Sorry, it's been a while. Venomous scale, that's probably not how you spell it, I would assume. Uh, it's, and here we are, figuring out if I spell things right or not. No, that's right. And here we are, we arrived at this, which we'll take a look at. Although this is the, as you can see, this is the data driven. So I'm writing in Lua. If you want to follow what I'm doing, you're going to try and find a Lua, which we can filter it by Lua ones. I think we're going to try this one. Legends of Dota is a good one, if I remember. It's very in-depth, but also hard to look through. So there is one thing you do want to be a little, um, take everything with a grain of salt on here. A lot of these GitHub projects have utility folders, so they might reference functions that don't exist in our project. But what we're looking for is create linear projectiles, a function, and this is what we're looking for. And we are on venomous scale, yeah. So as you see, this is all the stuff they have for on spell start. But the way we're gonna do it, we don't need all of this. And this is generally how you make a projectile in this game. You create an object with all these properties, such as the ability that cast it, effects, which are probably the part where you need GitHub to, outside of my knowledge, I couldn't find where to find all the particles. So if you have a certain particle that's in the game that you wanted to use, you would look up what it would be. Your origin would probably be, in this case, it's going to be your caster. There's a distance, start radius, end radius, that would be like our width. Uh, Source is the caster as well. That would be the actual that would be the caster. The spawn origin would be the caster's location. Uh, and then all this stuff. So what we're gonna do for now is we're gonna copy this, just the projectile, and just sort of weed through it. So we're creating our linear projectile like this. Let's okay. So a few things we need to do before this is just denote some simple variables that we'll need. The caster, you're going to do self get caster, and that would be the raw in this case. Next, we're going to find some of the values that we might need. So this would be things like the projectile speed. Remember, we marked this in our key values here as projectile speed. So how you do this? Self, meaning the ability, get special value for. And inside the string is going to be exactly what you put. Projectile speed is going to be exactly what you put here. So it would be projectile speed, and we're going to do the same for projectile width. Okay, so we have those. Now, same here, ability is just self. The effect name for now, we'll keep it as Venma Scale, but later on I'll think more about what would be a good one. Probably something similar to Lena's one, the Dragon Slave. Spawn origin, we want the caster, not, this is, I believe, talking about the wards for Venomancer, but in this case we just want caster get absolute origin, which is this function here. The distance, which we never, this is actually something we do need to set in our ability special, so let's add this in. The var type, as long as it's not a decimal, you can always just make it an integer. And let's name this one projectile distance, which actually in Dota terms, we probably want to not make this an ability special, sorry. We want to make this a cast range. So instead, let's do ability cast range. Oh, this keeps auto-completing for a whole bunch of other stuff. Let's just type it out. And the cast range for now, let's just make it 800. Okay. And now what we can do here is go for distance. Instead of travel distance, we can say self get cast range. The location, we're just gonna mark an empty vector. And for the target, we're just gonna call this nil. And start radius, this is just gonna be our width. And preferably, actually, it'd be width times 2, because, or, I'm sorry, divided by 2, because radius is only, if you're thinking of it as a circle, like this, and our width is from here to here, the radius would only be half of that. So, projectile width divided by 2, if we actually want to look at it as width. It would also maybe be easier to just simply keep this as projectile width and just think of it as the radius, but in certain terms, if I came up with that number 100 based on any, like, for any reason, we would want to put divided by 2. Source is the caster, yep. Has a frontal cone. So this would be like if it, basically I want to say what has a frontal cone and what doesn't. Um, Venomancer's Venomous Gale does, Lena's thing does, Dragon Knight's thing does. Something that doesn't have a frontal cone would be Sniper's Assassinate. It's not a linear projectile, but it's hard to explain. Just basically, at the end of it, does it still have, like, at the end of the radius, does it have, like, a width still that extends out in front of it? So for now, we'll keep that as true. Replace existing. Just leave this as false. The target team is going to be the enemy team. And this is just saying get ability target team, and this is getting the stuff from here. So what we could do is add another section under casting. Actually, we can put it with casting. And actually, let's put it under general. Ability unit target. If I can find out what it is. Okay, I might have to actually find out what that is. No, thought it was. Anyway, I'll come back to that in a second. I'm just gonna look back at one of my older, this guy. Yeah, ability unit target team. Hmm. Okay, I want to see something quick. If remember we were on syntax. This is also another form of that. I wonder if this is better. If I type this now, does it auto? Let me get rid of it. So it doesn't auto complete it off previous entries. If I type ability unit target. Yeah, no, it doesn't auto complete still. Okay, that's fine. Team. Let's go back to the old one. So this is just gonna be Dota team. There, team enemy. If we go to ability unit target flags, we don't have any specific like flags for not hitting somebody, except maybe magic immune we could add. And the last one was target type, and we're gonna target all, I believe, or there's one that includes just creeps and heroes, I believe, because obviously not buildings. Basic, I think it is. And we can confirm this by going to the, let's close some of these tabs, by going to the Dota workshop scripting. And we can go to scripting API and then just go to unit target type. There it is. Oops. This says targets everything, including buildings, couriers, shrines. We don't want the all. We want the basic, which is units. That is right. And then if we go up to flags, we can say not magic immune, which should be okay, on default it doesn't, so we're good. So we can go back to here, and we have these set, so now it'll grab these three values from the key values. Expire time, this is basically how long. Delete on hits, good. Velocity, we want, this is good, times projectile speed. Provides vision, I would say probably false. And extra data. So I don't think we need any of this for our particular thing, because it's only doing damage. Like in this instance, we have something like a projectile count. We don't need any of that for this one. So this is our projectile. Also, a quick note for the velocity. This is saying we're taking the velocity of the caster, I believe, which would make sense in our instance for Ra, because the line is going to start in the direction he's moving and then go straight ahead times your projectile speed. So I feel like this should be caster.velocity. I don't know what the context is from, if we go back to where we got the code, what the context of this is. Another quick tip, we could just search that, and it only comes up once, so I'm going to assume that it'll take it from the caster. And this is what we need to create the actual linear projectile. So you can copy this in here. So now we're going to actually track the linear projectile, and I believe how you do that is this is going to be inside a different function. We can take our projectile, and I believe it's going to be, well, we can just look at that example as well. It's going to be on projectile hit. Also, I'm going to go back. Delete on hit should be false because we're going to be hitting multiple targets. And now what we're going to do is get rid of the, if I can, Jesus. We're going to have H target and location. These are just going to be parameters we can use in this function. And now we're actually going to find a more suitable example. We're going to go over to, hopefully, Lena's Dragon Solve, because it's very similar. It's Dragon Slave, I'm sorry. And we can search in this GitHub, and we'll probably find, yep, perfect. Now the reason I popped over to here is because I know Dragon Slave affects multiple units. And we can compare what we have here. Delete on hit false, yep, makes sense. They also use velocity.x.y. So I think that's probably fine. That's just like that, primary distance. Also, if you see the expire time is the same. So I'm assuming that after this is just 10 seconds, and I'm assuming this is like a backup that destroys the projectile if it's not already destroyed within that 10 seconds. This is emitting the sound. We can add that later too if we ever do a custom sound. Now this is for all the different particles that are associated with the thing. Particles do get a little confusing, crowded, a lot of code to write, but it's pretty simple once you break it down. So let's look at this. So this is on projectile hit with the extra data. So this would be right here, because this is more than just the generic hero or dragon slave. This is a like IMBA version, I guess. So basically, apply damage, we'll be using that, and I'll show you that. The big thing here is using target and location. If there's a target, that means that there's actually something that's been hit, then we can apply the damage to that target. So we'll say, if there's a target, and for our instance with Ra's beam, all we need to do is just apply the damage from the beam. There's no slow effect, there's no other secondary effect. So simply to do that, we need a damage table, which has a attacker, which in this case is the caster, a victim, the target, damage, which we can assign up here. For now, we'll just say damage and damage type. Also, I almost made the mistake that cost me like 3 hours searching through code. This is underscore type. This is what I'll assign my variable to be for damage type. And then we'll just apply that damage table. Now if we look up here, we can actually say, instead of setting these as local, we can do self dot. And then also down here, add self dot, and it stores it as a object of the actual ability itself. And get rid of the local. The damage we'll get from set and then get special value. Or actually for this we can just do get ability damage. And the damage type, same way. And remember, this is just recalling the values we already set over here. And damage type is up here for some reason. Okay. So while I'm also here, let's replace the particle with a nice little dragon slave particle. So as you can see, what might be interesting about this is for Lena's dragon slave, the particle effect, oh no, here it is, effect name. It's just given within a variable up here. So we'll take that particle and we'll see how this works. Usually you typically won't have everything right the first go. I will just review everything quick. The beam, they're all equal. Everything looks fine. Famous last words though. So now if we click on Tinker in our game lobby, he'll have a an ability named Beam, but we don't actually want that. Or we do want that, but we don't want these ones because we haven't made these abilities yet. And if we try to load our game with them like that, I'll comment them out. Actually, I'll comment them out back here. Then we'll get an error and we won't be able to test the ones we already have. So instead, we will comment out everything else. So we just have the Tinker with normal abilities except this Beam ability for the first one. This does remind me we can set a custom texture. And God, if I can ever remember anything. Not this one. I want the, yeah, this is the custom here. This is the old project I did. Ability texture name. Yeah, so we can go back here, texture name, and we can set it with something more appropriate, like, for now, Lena Dragon Slave. And if we go into our game, which thank you, yep, I see we have a problem. How are we doing? I don't even think we built the first one yet. So let's go to build. Oh, I have this commented out. So you always find a bug or two, and we crashed the game by having that one. That's okay. It's gonna update. I had this part commented out, so like I said, you can't just create a hero. So by not overriding one, it didn't have a hero ID, and that breaks the game. So yeah, don't do that. Have your override hero not commented out and ready to go. I guess I'll cut back when we're good to go. Okay, and we're back. Map finally loaded. This is the first test. Here's Tinker with this wonderful ability, Raw Beam. Affects enemy creeps. So apparently I was wrong about that. We might have to fix that. But for now, let's just... Also, I like this. This is new. A new patch. Never seen this before. They didn't add the new heroes, did they? No, just move on. We're modders. Okay. Let's check. See if we got any errors right off the bat. Also, we didn't create the mini map, that's why that's looking funky at the bottom. Alright, so we don't have any script errors, which is pretty good. Oh, except our ability is gone. What happened to our poor ability? We can check the server to find out about this. So technically our ability doesn't have any of the information on this, which is the meat of it all. So we actually need to set a script name for it. So let's make a different little section here called script. Because whenever we copy our ability for all the next Smite heroes, we'll be using this over and over again. So let's give it script, and here we just type script file. And all you need is the not JS, we're in Lua. raw.lua. Now that we built it once, the quick way you're gonna go in here is to only entities and check off the build world. But we do want a mini map this time. Yep. So now this will be a super quick run. Yes, as you see, we just were brought instantly into the game. Let's lock. We can add an add-on name later as well, but let's just see if we got this first ability working. Okay. Okay. Continue.
I have several theories I would like to put into
So we
practice.
can go down here. This is all the new stuff here. Oh, we also didn't write ability Lua. It's because we don't need the dot Lua. Also, we need a base class, which is stop ability underscore Lua. Try it again. Okay, so basically this is a direction. It's a normalized vector that shows where the path between our target, or from our caster to the target. And for our velocity now, it's actually just going to be the direction X, direction Y, 0 on the Z axis, and then times our projectile speed. So let's give this a go, shall we?
Choose your hero.
Ready, willing, and fully enabled.
And a particle. Very nice.
I'm thinking.
Prepare for battle.
That was much better than I expected. Let's create an enemy, shall we? Create hero. Let's create enemy. Let's fight fire with fire. Oh, alright. So in theory, she should take 95 damage. Approximately be somewhere between 500 and 520 health. Very cool.
Positively.
To battle.
Aha, enemy creeps. Sorry, let's do creep. It's this. I think we do it manually like that. Let's try. If we get damage, I'm happy.
Choose your hero.
I can't even spell it right. Jeez.
Greetings. No argument there.
Prepare for battle.
Oh, no damage still. But we are affecting enemy units, right? Yep. Okay, let's go back. We didn't have any errors, did we? Nope. Okay. Aha, this is H uppercase T targets. All these typos we are finding.
Kings.
I wish I could get everything right the first time, but it never happens.
Choose your hero.
I have several theories I would like to put into practice. Indeed.
Oh, I saw damage. Yeah,
Prepare
okay, we
for
are
battle.
good. We got damage. Do it again. Wait, let's
Tinkering
just, I just
without
want to see this in action. Let's do it. Let's do it.
my sentiments.
Nice.
Exactly.
I saw the damage. And he basic attack, but I saw the damage with my own eyes. Let's level up. 10 times. Let's get this max. Very
Absolutely.
cool. Very cool indeed. I'm very happy with that. I think if one thing before we just, I think this is it, all I want to do for this episode is, I think we want to projectile speed. Let's turn this down a bit, because honestly, Raw's thing isn't that fast. Maybe 600 projectile width. It's also like a beam, although the particle's kind of big, so I don't. It might just look like that. Well, we can try it actually in our. Okay, I stop
I
attacking.
should say so.
Oops, refresh. So I think if we hit it right there, do you think it'll hit? No, okay, it's pretty tight actually. Even that didn't hit. Maybe we need to make it bigger. Ooh, that's really
The
small.
battle
Jesus,
begins.
is it just out of range? No, that hit. Okay, maybe yeah, 100's too small actually. Let's make it 200, I think. 150. It is a beam, so maybe a little bit bigger than what we have. Okay, and I think that's all for this. Very happy with that. Good start. We'll do more next time.